Hi, everybody. Happy Natural Medicine Week. It is Natural Medicine Week this week. If you have been following along on socials or emails, you know I have been talking a lot about this week. So it's exciting that it's here. This is run by Australian Traditional Medicine Society, and I am one of their ambassadors because I am super passionate about natural medicine and the potential it has to heal not just the body, but to literally transform your life in so many ways. So today in this video, I actually wanted to talk about fatigue, weight gain, and muscle weakness, and how all of these things could be linked to a mitochondrial issue. Before I jump into that, just a little announcement. So coming up on Friday, actually, this Friday, 12:30 p.m., we're running a webinar all about the 3 hidden causes of fatigue. We have Dr. Daniel Kalish has joined us to run this webinar. So if you have been following along, know my journey, then you'll probably know that I talk quite a bit about Dr. Daniel Kalish. He was actually my original functional medicine mentor. He's one of the founders, pioneers of functional medicine, has been working in this field for about 30 years. And I was privileged enough, lucky enough to be mentored by him for 4 years. Learning all his tricks and functional medicine secrets. So I was so excited that he agreed to join us. He is an author of 3 books. He's had research articles published in peer-reviewed journal articles. He teaches thousands of practitioners, including medical doctors. In fact, I was talking to him during our recording, and he said that 90% of his students now in the functional medicine, the Kalish Institute of Functional Medicine, are actually medical doctors because they're finding that they're not getting to the root causes. So, and this is what functional medicine is all about. So anyway, I hope that if you haven't registered for this webinar yet, please do so. You will learn so much from Dr. Kalish. Also, Chris is going to take us through some really practical energy boosting techniques. I'll be there as well for Q&A. So it'll be really great to have you on board to look at how or why you may have fatigue and energy issues and what you can do to reverse and fix those root causes so that you can have beautiful, vibrant energy, health, and have the life that you want to live. And that is what we are here for. We're on a mission to end body burnout for good, not just getting some symptomatic relief or short-term results. We want you to have a lifetime of beautiful health, which then flows on to beautiful relationships, productivity in your work and in your business, and just more purpose in your life and more honor for yourself. So, okay, let me dive into, that was a big wind up for this video today, which is all about the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is something that Dr. Kalish and I touch on in the webinar for the 3 hidden causes of fatigue. And so you will learn a lot more about that. We'll show lab test results, all that sort of stuff as well. But I want to talk to you specifically about the mitochondria because it's not something that GPs or medical specialists ever address. They do not test for this area. They actually don't know much about it. And in fact, even when patients first start working with us, and I pull up the body systems map and I start talking about the mitochondria, not many people actually even know what it is or have heard about it. But the mitochondria is so important, so important. It is the powerhouse of our energy production. You'll also find that not many other natural therapists talk about address the mitochondria as well. Or, you know, even if you are working with a functional medicine practitioner, they might not be treating it correctly, which is something that I've learned through my mentorship with Dr. Kalish, is that, you know, people just haven't been trained to read lab testing properly or to even know what lab tests to run to look at what so that you can diagnose mitochondrial issues. Okay, so the mitochondria are tiny little organelles that live in your muscle tissue, and their role is to convert food, so your fats, proteins, and carbs that you eat, into ATP energy. And if your mitochondria aren't doing so well, then they're not going to be producing energy very effectively. And so, one of the major symptoms that I see with mitochondrial issues is fatigue. Other symptoms where you start connecting the dots. If someone also has post-exercise fatigue, so you feel worse or more exhausted after physical exercise, as opposed to feeling brighter, more energized, then I start thinking about mitochondrial issues. Weight gain is another common underlying or symptom of mitochondrial issues, because if you're not converting food into ATP energy, where does that food go? It often gets stored as fat. And also people can feel often like a general feeling of weakness. So again, it's that muscle energy, like very deep fatigue that occurs due to, moving your body. And then people can start getting quite achy, because if you're not converting food into energy, you can start building up a lactic acid in your system. So there are two ways that the mitochondria can become imbalanced. The first way are co-enzyme deficiencies. So basically this means that there's little nutrients inside your body that need to be there in order to convert fats, proteins, and carbs into energy. And so, they're things like CoQ10, magnesium, vitamin Bs, carnitine, all of these nutrients. If they're not there, it's going to be really hard to convert food into energy effectively. Common causes for this are nutritional issues. So maybe you're just not eating a very good diet rich in these nutrients, but more often it's actually more gut issues if it's a nutritional deficiency issue. So your gut is not functioning very well, and you're not able to break down your food very effectively and draw those micronutrients that you need to convert food into energy. Other causes are genetic issues. Sometimes people just have genetic SNPs where they're burning through different nutrients that support the mitochondria, so that, even if you are eating the best diet, even if you have really good gut health, you might be more susceptible to having mitochondrial issues because you're burning through those nutrients needed to convert food into energy. Another thing is inflammation. So if your body is very inflamed, you burn up a lot of micronutrients. So, again, magnesium gets burnt up when there's inflammation and stress, vitamin Bs, CoQ10, lipoic acid. All of these are really important to come and mop up inflammation in the body. If you've got an abundance of inflammation, then those micronutrients get burnt up, which then can lead to mitochondrial failure or inefficiency. The second imbalance that I see with mitochondrial issues is when the actual organelles have become damaged. So when I run lab tests looking at the mitochondria, we can actually see how burnt out the mitochondria are. So we can see, like, is it more of a nutritional deficiency issue? Is it that the cells have actually become damaged? Often, in a lab test, I'll see like half or more of those markers are really low. And I'm liken the mitochondria to cylinders in the car. So let's imagine you have a 4-cylinder car. If you've only got half of your mitochondria functioning, then you're only driving a car with 2 cylinders. And, I actually am not a car enthusiast, but I would imagine that the car wouldn't go so well, maybe not so fast. There wouldn't be much oomph in the tank. And that's exactly what happens when your mitochondria is damaged. You just don't have 100% in the tank. You might only have 50%. Or 25%. So no wonder you're exhausted. The main things that cause the mitochondria to become damaged is, again, inflammation, oxidative damage. These often come from things like environmental toxins is a really big thing. Dr. Kalish and I talk a lot about that in the webinar that's coming up on Friday. Environmental toxins, a mold, also pathogens. So things like COVID-19, glandular fever, or infections in the gut can cause a lot of inflammation. And then another thing that we see really commonly with mitochondrial issues is over-exercising. So, oh my goodness, so many patients that we have had who have been gym junkies, or, very competitive in sports, or, training for ultra marathons. Often we see that those mitochondria have become damaged due to over-exercising and not balancing that exercise with recovery. And then, of course, that has this vicious cycle where the more you exercise, the more you damage your mitochondria, the more fatigue you get from exercise anyway. So how do we test for the mitochondria? Again, Dr. Kalish and I are going to go over some lab tests, like really specifically looking at these markers. But basically, my main way of testing is the organic acids profile. So this is a wee test, and we can see all the different pathways in your citric acid cycle. So that's a cycle that helps the mitochondria to function. And we can detect like where exactly those nutritional deficiencies are, or is it more that the mitochondria have become damaged? And my motto is always test, don't guess. It's incredible that we have this technology at our fingertips to be able to discover where exactly your energy, weight, or body weakness and pain issues are coming from. Maybe it's not actually the mitochondria. Maybe it's coming from the brain or from the adrenals or the gut or the detox pathways. So you save money, you save time, and you save sanity when you test, not guess. So a case study, we have worked with many clients to restore their mitochondria. And as a result, we have seen improvements with energy, ability to burn fat, and also an improvement in chronic pain and weakness. One client was really struggling with post-exercise fatigue. So prior to kids, she'd been very active. But after her first baby, which was 6 years previous to when she started working with us, the family had moved to an old country home in Tasmania, which they later discovered was riddled with black mold inside walls and underfloors. And around the same time, she caught glandular fever. So she had babies, moved into a moldy environment, also caught glandular fever. And this all happened within the space of like a year or so. And ever since then, she claimed that she had been fatigued and not as physically resilient since those circumstances. So she was also working or works as a remedial therapist, sole trader. So, she has client after client, and she was just really struggling to keep up with the physical demands of work. So not only was she exhausted, it was affecting her parenting, her mothering, her ability to care for a home and a farm, but she just was really struggling to work, and she was getting more and more burnt out. Her business was becoming affected by that, which then, of course, caused all the stress of financial issues and not being able to do what she used to be able to do. So initially we did a whole heap of tests, and there were some brain issues, there were some gut issues, some methylation issues. Initially we started off with brain work, and that really helped with to an extent with her brain fog and energy levels, but her energy still wasn't optimal, and like especially around exercise. So as she started to feel better, she was adding more exercise back in, but she just kept crashing. Even after like a slow jog or a 10-kilometer hike, she would feel quite exhausted. Also, again, she got to a point where she could do more in her work, but a whole day of massaging clients, and she felt really wiped and achy. So it turned out that, when we were doing testing, that her mitochondria had also become damaged. And it was most likely due to a combination of stresses of the kids, the glandular fever, the mold. She was also, even from a mindset point of view, she was struggling, or she was stuck in this motherhood martyrdom, doing everything for everyone else, not doing it and leaving herself to last. And, I could go into that for a whole hour, save that for another time. But basically her mitochondria were affecting her energy and her resilience. And so, we kept doing brain work, but we also added in mitochondrial support, really targeted support, helped her with, grading up her exercise. So, not just using supplements, but graded exercise therapy, oxygenation therapy, and also addressing root causes around why she was doing everything for everyone else and not herself. And month by month, she saw an increase in her energy, and which was amazing. And that's what we usually see, like a 10% improvement each month. And by the end of her program, she was back doing exercise like she used to be able to do, but also, staying very in tune with her body, knowing when she had reached her kind of like boundaries or her limits, and making sure she was getting a lot of rest and recovery around that. So yeah, that was awesome. So if you want to learn more about the mitochondria and, the 3 hidden causes of fatigue, then I would encourage you to sign up for our webinar on Friday. It's going to be a hybrid webinar. So partly we're going to do a bunch of stuff live. There's also some recorded parts, and we will have both myself and also Chris is going to come in, our personal development coach, who will really look at the mindset point of view component to fatigue. And then Dr. Kalish is going to talk to us a lot about the body systems that break down, what labs look like, how we can restore those. And he also talks about emotions and spiritual disconnection being at the root cause of physical issues. So I'm so excited. If you can't make it live, so that's Friday at 12:30, that's all good. All registrants will get the recording, as well as any handouts, free links to different courses that Dr. Kalish is going to offer as well. So feel free well, please don't just feel free, do it, especially if you're struggling with energy. Love to see you there.